Well, hello and a very good morning. You're watching News9 Live. I'm Kabir Naqvi. Joining me here in the studio is a very serious newspaper reader and my colleague Varghese P. Abraham. And what we're essentially up to every day at 9 a.m. in the morning is to let the viewers become a part of our editorial meet. What all stories are we going to cover during the day today is something that we decide, and it's right now that Varghese and I, start talking about whatever headlines are mentioned in the various newspapers, Hindi, English, what is the internet telling us, what's a buzz on social media, and it seems like there's a lot to talk today as well. The Manipur violence is, of course, an issue. You've got the Delhi cops that quizzed Brij Bhushan's aides at his Gonda home in Uttar Pradesh. But even as we're talking about that, overnight developments suggest that Anurag Thakur has called these wrestlers again for a round 2 of talks. So is the government on the back foot here? That's something that we will discuss over here. Of course, the CBI has begun its train tragedy probe. It spoke to various officials at the Odisha railway station and has begun its investigation into the tragic accident that took place right at the start of this month. Also, cyclone developments, a cyclonic formation over the Arabian Sea and its impact on monsoon. A Hindi newspaper here, Dainik Bhaskar, says, "Ummeed rakhiye, monsoon beshak late aayega, par barish kam nahi hogi." So what are going to be its effect?
Relief.
What is going to be the effect, even with a delayed monsoon? What is going to be the effect on the crop situation? And ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's state visit in Washington, where he is saying that he's excited to address the collect, Congress over there. The White House has come out in defense of his state visit and said that India is a vibrant democracy. John Kirby has said that you have to go to New Delhi to really feel it. And, well, of course, the cricket finals. The World Test Championship final is upon us finally. India take on Australia. So much that we have to talk about. But first and foremost, let's go via chronology. It seems like Anurag Thakur's tweet this very morning that people are picking up. He's saying that I've called on these wrestlers for round 2 of talks. There is pressure on the Delhi police about their approach in terms of their investigation in this particular case. And at the same time, the Delhi cops who visited Brij Bhushan's Gonda home spoke to his aides. But Anurag Thakur now with this particular tweet that's on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, the government is willing to have a discussion with the wrestlers on their issues. I have once again invited wrestlers for the same. Last time around, Varghese, the wrestlers, including Vinesh Phogat, Sakshi Malik, said that they were intimidated. Bajrang Punia said that there were a lot of officers in the room. The sports minister came and spoke to us for a meager 5-10 minutes, and we were intimidated throughout. What do you think is going to happen now, and is the government on the back foot here?
Well, you have hit the nail on this story, in fact. And what I understand right now, I would like you to get your attention to an op-ed article that is there in the Tribune. And very interesting article. It was written with the title saying, "Wrestlers pitted against powerful MP in an uneven power play." And just as you mentioned is what journalist Radhika Ramaseshan has in fact written in this particular piece. It's written like this: "A meeting on June 3rd between Union Home Minister Amit Shah and protesting wrestlers Bajrang Punia, Sakshi Malik and Vinesh Phogat marked the first effort on the centre's part to end the impasse. Now, the events preceding the meeting were rooted in an uneven power play in which a young sportspersons were pitted against a powerful MP heading the Wrestling Federation of India by dint of the clout be derived from belonging the ruling BJP in the electorally weighty Uttar Pradesh." And then she sums it, the editorial sums it and says, as in a mismatched battles, the vulnerable wrestlers might have to settle for what's handed to them. So this is something that is interestingly taken up by on the op-ed page and gives an idea of the power play that is happening right at
There's
the
another
moment.
player in this power play. It's the farmers. It's the panchayats.
Yeah, the ticket has also come out and said that they are not withdrawing the support that they are giving the wrestlers, and that any kind of statements coming on that front is not the right information that is being informed, is what he has in fact also said. So
the wrestlers have also called for a Mahapanchayat themselves, Varghese. According to the Times of India, the first page over here, Nice infographic yet again. It says, protesting wrestlers led by Bajrang Punia, Vinesh Phogat and Sakshi Malik will hold a Mahapanchayat, a first organized by themselves, on Sunday, the 11th of June, in Rajasthan or Punjab, this according to TOI sources. Now, Khaps and Kisan unions will be invited to join. Organizers are looking at Jaipur and Alwar as well as likely venues for this wrestlers' Mahapanchayat. Will POXO be dropped is a big question.
That is
people are
what
asking.
everybody is
There
in
are
fact
conflicting
asking
reports
about it.
on whether one of the complainants against Singh was a minor or not. Cops remain tight-lipped on the issue. And, the cops' role over here and how they're, treading this particular case, how they're carrying on their investigation is something that a lot of people are raising their eyebrows on.
Well, a lot of people are raising their eyebrows on, and over the issue when we were speaking about the cops, you had also raised a Delhi police visits Brijbhushan's residence in Gonda to record statements of associates. This is there in the Hindu, and in fact it is in their news page, page number 12. So at the bottom they have in fact written about it, and it said a special investigation SIT is probing the two cases lodged against Mr. Singh, one based on the complaint lodged by the 6 wrestlers and another one on the complaint of a minor wrestler under the Protection of Children Against Sexual Offences, or better, the POSCO Act. So technically there are 2 cases, one under POSCO, as you have in fact mentioned, and the other is with all the 6 wrestlers coming together, and that case is also being probed at the same time. So the minor wrestler whose father had filed the police complaint has reportedly withdrawn her allegations against Mr. Singh, is what is also being said. In May, the minor wrestler had recorded her statement before a magistrate, maintaining the charges in her father's complaint. In this case, the court will take a call as to which statement will remain valid, and the facts behind both the statements could be examined during the POXO trial. So here what has happened is that there are 2 statements that have come, one with regard to the first statement that was given, which corroborated with the complaint of the father, and now a second statement that comes that does not corroborate with this case. So there are 2 statements that have come in, and now the court will decide whether which statement should be taken. The first statement where the victim has in fact alleged, or the second statement where she has in fact not given that kind of an allegation as in the first being reported.
There are
so now it is the ball is in the court to decide which statement should be taken and whether this POXO case
the ball is in
against
the court's court, you mean?
Court's court, yeah.
Yeah, the ball is in the court's court, of course. And there are several sections, relevant sections of the POXO Act and of the Indian Penal Code that are at play here. Sections 8, 10, 12, if I'm not wrong, and people can get down in the comment sections if to correct me. The punishment in these particular sections is less than 7 years. If the punishment is less than 7 years, you need not be arrested per se. But you can be arrested if one thinks that the person, the accused, is an influential person.
So what that is where
can tamper evidence.
Yes,
outside.
that is where the POXO issue comes to light. Because normally when a POXO case is this thing, and I mean, this is what normally happens. It is assumed that the accused is guilty and therefore he is taken into custody. There is, it is an assumption that is being carried, and therefore immediate arrest is noted in a POXO case. It need not be the case. I mean, it is a grey area. Whether the arrest can be carried out or not is a grey area if it's in POXO. But in a normal case, it is in fact carried out, and it has been done as a precedent for it also. So that is where the POXO issue becomes quite relevant for Brijbhushan Singh, because here the POXO, if the POXO case goes further, that he could face arrest, while in the other case he could in fact challenge the accusations in the court itself.
Well, what's going to happen? Conditions for arrest at play. Various people coming out, an Olympian, a CWG medalist and an international referee among those that were questioned by the Delhi police in Lucknow. Where is this case headed? What's going to come out of these particular talks with the Union Sports Minister and the dissenting wrestlers? Well, we'll have to wait and find out. Varghese, I'm going to have to shift the viewers' focus over here to some real tragic developments that have taken shape in Manipur. There is fresh violence in the state. There was a BSF constable that was killed, 2 Assam Rifles personnel that have been injured in the Manipur fighting. But the most unfortunate piece of news is the fact that a mother and a son are among the 3 that are feared killed in a mob attack on an ambulance. So essentially, a mother and son among those 3 that are feared to have been burnt alive. There are suspected Kuki militants behind attacks in Kaching district. Take a look at these visuals. I mean, the unrest is unreal.
Well, the unrest is unreal, and also the worrying factor that the violence, as we were, we have had a lot of discussions about this violence and the cycle of violence that is there, and we are in fact seeing the cycle of violence continue, and it is really the kind of situation that we see on the ground seems to be really alarming, and it is really worrying. Well, look at the violence that we are looking at. The Indian Express has in fact mentioned the BSF constable who has been killed, 2 Assam Rifles personnel injured in Manipur firing. Suspected Kuki militants behind attack in Kangching district is what the police say. The Border Security Force constable has been identified as Ranjit Yadav. Now, another shocking part of that same story, it's all there in the front pages. Mother, son among 3 feared killed in a mob attack on an ambulance. That is, and look at the sad part of it. There's a Metis woman married to a Kuki man. Her son and a relative are feared dead after an ambulance was set on fire by a mob in Imphal on Sunday. Relatives and residents of their village have told the Indian Express, I'm reading from the Indian Express, the ambulance was taking the child to the hospital and was being escorted by police personnel when this happened. The incident took place in Imphal's West Irosemba area under the jurisdiction of Lamphel police station. Now,
so what needs to happen next over here? I mean, you've had the
Kabir,
Home
the
Minister
fact
that is
over here is that she is a Metis woman who is married to a Kuki man. I mean, this is a family. There, of course, in India, we all come from different diversities. There are mixed families, different identity families and all that. But this is so sad that this has happened when the child was being taken to the hospital in an ambulance. There was police personnel itself, but I think they seem to have been overwhelmed with the kind of mob presence that was there. And the mother as well as the son were burnt alive along with their relative. This shows that on the ground, we are yet not able
have we taken any steps
to douse
forward
the emotional situation on the ground.
You know, a week back we were discussing whether this train that was halted, this train that was, going to bring peace and normalcy back in the hill state, has it started moving? And people had come on and there was a chorus that was growing that yes, it has started moving. We will return to normalcy soon. But it seems like we've only taken steps back. And what needs to be done right now is, of grave significance when one is looking at the time.
Well, what you're saying is correct, but now what the centre has done as an immediate step right now, the Hindu has mentioned it, while giving the headline as mother-child burnt alive in Manipur as crisis escalates is this, the centre has airlifted around 1,000 border security force personnel to Manipur on Tuesday as violence, arson and killings continued in the crisis-hit state. More than 20,000 Central Armed Police Force personnel and army troops have been deployed in Manipur since ethnic violence between the Metis and Kuki communities erupted on May 3rd, claiming more than 100 lives so far. So right now, another 1,000 Jawans have been airlifted to carry on with the flag marches and also to ensure that law and order is maintained. But as I said, it is quite a worrying factor that the cycle of violence has not yet been broken in this, and it's only becoming too much on the ground, with emotions being, spanned in such a way that this cycle of violence is continuing. We were in fact hoping that peace would have come when Home Minister Amit Shah was there. He was there, he took stock, he went to the camps, he spoke with the stakeholders, but it looks like on the ground the fans of this crisis are being the fans are just flaming the fire and hatred on the ground between the communities. And what a tragedy that we are in fact looking at our early morning newspapers with, where a mother and child is in fact being burnt in an ambulance.
I just fail to understand what more needs to be done on the ground, because we know that the socio-economic fault lines are far and many. You've got various topics to talk about. The effects are being felt in other parts of the country as well, politically. But on the ground, we're losing out our brethren. There are so many people who've already lost their lives. And
in fact, a rough estimate says that from May 3rd onwards, Kabir, at least 100 people have died because of the violence from here. It's a rough estimate that has been put up in the papers, and multiple incidents of violence, arson, firing have been reported, and there has been redeployment of additional troops over the past 48 hours. The army has said in the statement, especially in junctions where
Is
Meitei
more
and Kuki
troops
incidents
on the
there.
ground, more boots on the ground the answer?
Well, it depends.
You
how
need
much.
them to control the situation, I
So
agree,
yeah,
but
we need them to control the situation, and it depends how much can the army is essentially not there to maintain law and order. It is the other security agencies that are supposed to go ahead and maintain law and order. You have over here the army doing that work. You have the BSF that has been flown in to carry on with that work. But at the same time, bringing peace seems to be quite difficult because emotionally everyone seems to be charged about it. As I said, this is going to be a generational issue. This what has happened in Manipur will be spoken a lot in the Meitei generations that are coming in the future, as well as the Kuki groups that are going to come in the future. It's going to be a generational trauma that will be handed over. But it looks like on the ground, the efforts for peace that is being carried out seems to be a little bit being held back as of now because of the fact that the emotions regarding this entire issue is still continuing. The violence is still continuing, the arson is still continuing, and therefore it looks like the administration will have to step up with more force to control the violence first, and then only they can in fact push for any kind of peace terms, any kind of talks. But dialogue is the only way. We can't go on like this in Manipur.
But do you see dialogue happening on the ground? Do you see it happen?
For
I
that,
mean, with these kinds of violence taking place,
yeah, what you're saying is
people who
right.
are coming for these dialogues are essentially heads of these associations.
So,
these regional,
so who is
regional
fanning
tribal
these?
groups.
Who is fanning this violence? We have to first understand who is fanning the violence. We have to just see. We have to just stop the fuel from. If there is fire, you don't keep on pouring the fuel, right? So you have to stop the fuel. So somewhere someone has to find out what is leading to it. Who is fueling this violence again and again, especially when there are teams out there trying to bring peace, especially when there is, process of dialogue initiated by the center, when the Home Minister
There's a unified
had
command.
come over there.
There's
and
a peace panel. CBI is going to conduct a judicial probe into this entire process. The Home Minister went there. The Chief Minister has got his own team there. The Chief Minister is the Home Minister of the state. If these authorities, these big bodies are unable to find out who's fanning the violence, how do you expect the people on the ground to, suddenly, get placated, be pacified with whatever the government and the authorities are up to?
So nobody is going to be pacified, but there can be semblance of law and order that can be brought in place. And for that, probably there could be doubling of efforts that has to be. Manipur is a very key border state. We cannot allow it to be in the kind of situation that it is in right now. So it being a very key border state, I think there should be efforts to be carried on when it comes to this, because as I was reading out, there have been multiple incidents that have been reported. We have seen most of them reporting only one incident, but the fact remains is that this particular state is an important border state, and there needs to be some kind of an effort to bring peace as fast as possible. It happened on May 3rd, Kabir, and now we are June 7th. The violence had been, first violence was reported from May 3rd onwards. And it's almost crossed a month, and we are still on the same drawing board. So there has to be more efforts to be put out. Also, bringing to your attention, the Manipur government yet to take stand on adding Meiteis to the ST list. I'll just read that article for you. It's there in the Hindu as well. As ethnic clashes continue between the Meiteis and the Kuki-Zomi people in Manipur, the state government is yet to take a position on whether the former should be given the scheduled tribe status, according to submissions made before the division bench of Manipur High Court in Imphal on Tuesday. So right now it looks like the state government is also on the bind with regard to the ST status that has to be given to the Meiteis as such. Meanwhile, the MTU to file objection. Meanwhile, members of the Meitei Tribes Union also arranged as respondents sought a week's time to file their objections to the appeal. The MTU as organization, the first approached the Manipur court seeking direction for their recommendation for being included in the ST list. The entire violence started from this issue of whether the Meiteis can be given the ST list, and therefore this is the kind of situation that we are in now. And this violence is direct result of the fault line between these various ethnic groups coming onto the administrative structure, and whether one or the other would overtake them. So this feeling of the othering is what has led to this fault line to come to such a situation, Kabir. And therefore, again, this is again a huge question, because the Manipur government is yet to take a stand on that, because right now it's not the time for it. It looks like that.
And another bottom line that one has to look at is the fact that, you know, our security forces, personnel, army men, they're being targeted by militants in Manipur. A BSF Jawan got killed, 2 Assam Rifles personnel have been injured. The Chief Minister N. Biren Singh, he paid his last respects to the slain BSF Constable Ranjit Yadav yesterday. And a combing operation was, did follow the firing. And in the combing operation, you found 2 Kalashnikov rifles, a 51 mm mortar, 2 carbines, and an ammunition dump, collective dump of just bullets over there. Additional forces have been deployed in the neighborhood. So you've got more boots that are going, being deployed via the aircraft, and militants continue to target army personnel.
Well, militants have.
That's a proper army, a civil strife sort of a situation.
Yeah, the thing is, there is already an SO, and that is suspension of operations agreement is there with some of the Kuki militant groups.
Associations.
Yes, militant groups, and it was a very fragile truce that was holding on until this violence.
But it did hold on for years.
Yeah, it did hold on for years, but again, this fragile truce has been challenged again, and whether there's I don't know whether it's still in existence or not, because there have been reports of action being taken on the part of the army against the militant groups. At the same time, we have heard that some militant groups are still saying that this is not in their terrain, so they have a different demand altogether. So it's become more complex on the ground to deal with the militant groups as well. And then, of course, the militant groups do represent one section of the ethnic groups in Manipur, and probably there would be words going on saying that they need to defend their community as well. So all these things are making it a bigger issue on the ground.
You spoke about, the land acquisition problem as well. Now, we've got the poppy cultivation, that's a huge factor. You've got communal lines at play also over there. You have the land dispute is a major, issue for them. But on the Libra scale, which weighs heavier? Do you think the poppy cultivation issue and the porous border issue outweighs the issue of the land dispute? Does it outweigh the issue of the militant insurgency, and how much of travel is being carried out at that particular border with Myanmar?
See, Myanmar's border with India is again very porous, and it's so porous to the extent that there are issues that security establishment should in fact look into. But it's been kept porous also for a reason. One, because we are looking at more trade happening, or in the future we are looking at the possibility of opening up these northeastern states as the link states for us with Southeast Asia. So there's a lot of thought process that's also in place. But keeping that in place, now the aspect of security is also important. How do you maintain security with open borders? That has been a big issue. And as you rightly pointed out about land acquisition, poppy cultivation, my memory is right, 1,543 acres of land had come under poppy cultivation in Manipur alone. So which means that Manipur is sucked into the nearby golden or the death triangle that we call, where there are cartels that are operating from Manipur soil also, that are directly linked with these death triangles.
And I'll tell you what, these narco-terrorists would love for this conflict to continue.
Yes, they would,
on,
because it means
on.
more people. It means there is a need for growing this, because we are looking at how narcotics can be used to fund militant groups. So narco-terrorism, in a way, we can speak about that, which shouldn't be the direction in which Manipur should be heading right now. And it is in.
And when the government's hands are tied,
exactly,
focusing on various other issues, civil strife that's open.
So this is not the right situation that Manipur should be heading in. Manipur's actual capacity as a state is to become an economic power hub for the Northeast, as the connecting state between Southeast Asia as well as
the way the central government has postured itself, and let's not forget, it's a double engine government, right? I mean, you've got the BJP in the state over there as well. Has the posturing and the steps that the central government has taken with respect to Union Minister Amit Shah's visit to Manipur, do you think those are confident steps enough? Have they showcased that kind of confidence to the people on the ground? I mean, even as we speak, I feel like tomorrow front page news is again going to be Manipur. And people are just
Manipur
going to
has
talk
been
about
the
it,
front
and
page news for a
the
lot
sun's
of
going to
time.
rise, it's going to go down, but the conflict is going to rage on, and no particular, concrete action steps. We had a real top scholar with a keen focus on the northeastern region on our show yesterday, and they said that if the government really wanted to stop the violence, there are stern steps that the central government can take and really curb violence, bring the law and order back into control completely with a heavy hand and iron grasp.
Again, Kabir, I would like to add to it. It's like this. Someone said that the biggest order or the biggest, judgment from the Supreme Court can be valid only if it can be implemented by the common police constable on the ground. So, over here, we are looking at the Manipur police, we are looking at the Assam Rifles, we are looking at so many of the security forces that are there. They are all caught up in this violence, and their way of handling it is also quite different, because some have the experience of law and order, some don't have the experience of law and order, some are only used to fighting militant groups, some are only meant to be at the borders. So, it's a mixed match of security personnel. Only thing that is common is that we have a disciplined force on the ground, and that how effectively we use the disciplined force with all these different aspects of them to restore some kind of normalcy and peace in Manipur is something that we need to look into, Kabir. But again, it takes a lot of will to, in fact, fight against the situation that is right there.
What's going to happen in Manipur is the big question. Suspected Kuki militants that are behind the attack in Kakching district, this coming from the police, a mother and son that were among the three that were feared killed in a mob attack. Take a look at this picture. It's on the top front page of the Indian Express. Take a look at this. I'll hold this up for you. That's the charred up ambulance that the Indian Express has showcased. That's the BSF Jawan, the slain BSF constable that we've lost. Two Assam Rifles personnel that was also injured in this particular firing. Combing operations that have happened, and in the combing operations, some more weaponry has been found. How's this day going to pan out? What are some, dialogues and talks that are going to be conducted and held today? Well, we'll have to wait and find out. We will again, of course, probe developments coming out of Manipur. You can continue to join News9 Live at 11 and 12 this very afternoon, where we talk about in-depth analysis with experts with us on the panel about what's really happening in Manipur. Where is it headed? Essentials are skyrocketing, and the number and the death toll, that figure, is also rising at the same time. Well, Varghese, right next to this particular news of Manipur is the CBI's, probe of the train tragedy. That's also something that we're going to be looking at. The CBI has reached there, and it has started speaking to officials. It has started inspecting the station room panel. There's a picture in the front page of the Indian Express. I'll show it to the viewers quickly. Once again, you've got the CBI right in the top corner over here. You've got the CBI that is in the station room. It's in the panel. It's taking a look at the various monitors that are available over there. But interestingly, I remember you talking to me about a particular officer's dissent, where they're saying that it's not due to the accident did not happen due to the signaling that went off. Was it green? Was it red? What's that particular news about? What paper is that?
Well, that was, in fact, I would think it was in the Express itself, if I remember, where they were talking about or it must be from the Hindu then, I think. They were talking about it on this, and they were, in fact, officers' dissent says not due to signal failure. This is from, the Times of India. So, what it says is that the Coromandel got go ahead for main line and not the loop. So, let me read that part of it. In what seems to be an interdepartmental disagreement over the cause of the Odisha train accident, a senior section engineer of the Signals and Communication in Balasore, who was among the signatories to the joint inspection report on the mishap, has given a dissenting note. So, in that dissenting note, this is what is said. While the report blamed signal failure, the officer referred to a data logger report to claim that signal was green for Coromandel Express to take the main line and not the loop line. So, this could be that the person who was given though the person, in fact, this is there in the Times of India again on the side page as well, where the inspection is also happening. So, interestingly enough, this points that there could be a chance for human error, in the sense, because if in the dissenting note, very interestingly, it says that though it was for the Coromandel Express to take the main line, not the loop line, how did they in fact decide on which is the line to take? So, when the green was given, who took that decision to take the wrong line? So, that is a question. So, whether it was, of course, the loco pilot who would be.
It could also been a technical snag, a technical fault.
It could be a technical snag, but it looks like here the decision should have been taken by the loco pilot, because if it was given the green signal for something, then there must have been an error of judgment. So, this dissenting note by the signaling officer is also interesting to see whether this could also be one of the reasons why this accident could have taken place, because the loco pilot took the wrong line, not the main, and instead of and took the loop line, which resulted in this entire.
You basically have the three tracks, and the iron ore cargoes, stationary on the the foremost track. In the middle track, you've got the Coromandel Express that's running, that is coming from the other side, and you've got the Howrah Express on the third track. So the Howrah train is going towards you. The Coromandel Express is coming towards me. It gets a green signal from this side. However, you've got the iron ore cargo stationed over here, and there's a loop line over here, right, which changes the track, the one that you see in the Hollywood movies where the track gets changed. And funnily, in Bollywood movies, you've got the male protagonist's foot always gets stuck in that particular loop line. So that loop line changes. The Coromandel Express that's coming from over there has to go straight over here. It then changes its direction, goes and rams into the iron ore cargo. Some of its hind bogies get dismantled, they get derailed, and they hit the passing by Howrah Express. Is that what happened essentially?
It looks like that. According to this, this could be the theory of how the accident took place.
And the officer says that the Coromandel Express got a green light from this side, so it had a it had the green not to move ahead.
Yes, so no, it got a green
light, but not go ram into the.
So it says that the green light was given. Was there a misjudgment of which line was supposed to be taken, whether it was the loop or the main line? This is what the error of judgment on which line to take by the loco pilot could have led to the accident. It's kind of the inference that was being given, but it's given as a dissenting note by that officer over there. So I think that also needs to be explored.
The probe is essentially narrowing down to what was the root cause, and once you get down to the root cause, you try and understand who was behind it. Was there a human
when you
fault?
say that as well, Kabir, in fact, I was looking at some of the. The Tribune has an interesting article over here. It says that CBI begins Balasore probe to work on foul play theory. So they seem to be looking at that angle as well when it comes to this accident. The Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI, today said it has registered an FIR and formally taken over the probe into the triple train accident that took place on June 2nd in Balasore district of Odisha. An agency spokesperson said the case has been registered on the request of Ministry of Railways, consent of the Odisha government, and further orders for Department of Personnel and Training related to the train accident involving the Coromandel Express, Yeshwantpur Howrah Express, and the goods train at Bhangnagar Bazaar. The CBI took over the FIR registered by the government, this thing under sections 337, 338 and 304A of this of the IPC. So they are looking into this particular aspect of whether the foul play has occurred. Now, if foul play has occurred also, because a lot of people have said there's a conspiracy maybe to have that kind of situation. Let all the angles be investigated.
Absolutely.
From
if the
signal
CBI
failure to human error to whether it is a conspiracy. But how did this accident happen? That should be the core of it. We should, in fact, find out how this accident happened. And meanwhile, the Hindu has said that CBI gathers evidence. 83 bodies are yet to be claimed. Team visits Bhangnagar Bazaar and Balasore railway stations inquires about signaling system. So they also are looking at the signaling aspect as well. 4 days after the deadly accident, authorities plan DNA sampling for help relatives identify the kin. So they are also looking at where the failure has happened. So they are also inquiring into the signaling aspect at that particular juncture as well. And as I was saying earlier also, they had mentioned the kind of sections under which the FIR has been registered. Section 337, causing hurt by acting endangering life or personal safety of others. 338, causing grievous hurt by act endangering life or personal safety of others. 304A, causing death by negligence. And 34, acts done by several persons in furtherance of common intention. So these are some of the sections that have been taken into custody, into consideration. And in fact, the same story is again there, where senior official disagrees with panel's finding. Senior section engineer A.K. Mahanta, who was part of the inquiry panel,
I'm sure now there is going to be dissent between different departments
as well as to what
they're going to be like,
cause.
This is not our fault, it's their fault. The other department is going to be, this is not our fault. But even as this blame game continues, let's also give a real the actual kind of respect the NDRF actually deserves over here, because they are the actual heroes with the kind of rescues they carried out. In Odisha, the government's years of investment in their capacity building in terms of procuring state-of-the-art equipment to handle disasters, that has certainly paid off. But now you've got multiple claimants for bodies, and the state government has started DNA sampling to understand. That's how tragic this particular accident was. Mamata Banerjee, a former railway minister herself, had twice said that she would want to step down. Atal Bihari Vajpayee asked her not to after those particular tragic accidents. She went out, visited a lot of people who were victims of that particular train accident. Where is this CBI probe now headed? Do you think it's going to be slow on its feet?
It is very initial right now, because here we say they're gathering evidence, they have registered, they've gone by the procedure, they've registered the FIR, they're gathering everything, they're looking whether it's a signal issue, whether there are other, angles to this particular accident as well. So all these issues are going to in fact bring in all the questions about whether the CBI probe is something going to help. But let me bring also one interesting headline that is there in the Hindu as well on the CBI probe. CBI probe is headline management, says Congress. The decision to hand over the investigation of the Balasore train accident to the CBI was part of the Narendra Modi government's strategy of headline management to divert attention from its own failures, the Congress alleged. So, politics are also happening on the sides of
Absolutely. Social media is abuzz with, various demands of the railway minister at least wanting to step down, at least put that forth. People are, citing historical examples of how, former railway ministers after major and, big tragic accidents would always come out and, say that I'd like to step down. Even, Lal Bahadur Shastri stepped down after a particular accident. People are expecting Ashwini Vaishnav to also come out and, at least say that he'd like to put in his papers. But nothing of that sort has happened. The Congress, of course, trying to exploit that particular situation as well. So politics is, up and running. We politicize the silliest of things in this country. 200 people dying. That's, well, I'm not shocked that there's politics happening over.
Of course, there is politics happening on it, but the fact remains is that let's investigate
that particular death toll. I'm sure. I'm more interested in the fact that we come out and the people get to know why it happened, so that we can tell the people that 98% of our railway network is secure, not secure, what's the status, where are we headed. We're one of the biggest railway networks in the world. We better have, safety when it comes to collisions between, and simple collisions between two trains that are operating at high speeds, one of them just standing stationary. It's almost like, that idiom of sitting ducks can be changed into stalled trains. Sitting like stalled trains.
But this has to be looked into, Kabir, because we need to know what is it so that this does not happen the next time. If it was a signal failure, let's fix the signal failure. If it was a human error, let's fix that human error with better training. let's have the system, please. If it's conspiracy, let's go to find out who carried
No,
out with the
absolutely,
conspiracy. Because
100%.
someone is responsible for these deaths. Something or some decision was responsible for the deaths of these people.
And more importantly, at the end, what kind of reformation do we need? Because we need to look at the future. We talk about modern trains, but if you don't have the
And we are scaling up
the staff,
infrastructure.
the people, the
We are
education.
scaling up the infrastructure when it comes to the Indian Railways. We have seen how the Vande Bharat
But are
trains
we
have been
treating
coming.
our human resource in the same way?
Exactly, the same way. Is our human resources in the railways, are they on track to update themselves and adopt themselves to
Certainly.
the changes in infrastructure and the high-tech communication that is being introduced into the system right now? That is a big question that the railways have to look into, because as yesterday's article, we were in fact speaking about how there is a HR issue in the railways, where linemen being promoted to handle, very sophisticated equipment, less people on the railway tracks, people who have to look into a 5-kilometer stretch of inspection. Normally there was 2, now it's been reduced to 1. So all those issues are going to be there. Looks like the railways is stretched and at the same time undergoing a set of modernization for which it is needs to in fact pace it up right now to have more technical people on this.
Well, also right below this particular story is something that we were discussing yesterday as well, about how India's ties with the United States and that particular bonhomie is, there's an uptick over there. Yesterday, the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh and that new framework of defense, trade and technology transfer, all those aircrafts that we were speaking about, armed drones that India is now going to be buying. And India is one of the biggest importers of military prowess from the West. Austin J. Lloyd, the Defense Secretary of the United States, he was seen with Rajnath Singh, those real tight hugs, and Austin J. Lloyd is a big man. Now, the White House has come out. It has defended Prime Minister Modi's state visit invite, and it has said that India is a vibrant democracy. John Kirby, representing the White House, has said, anybody that happens to go to New Delhi can see that for themselves. This visit of Prime Minister Modi is really about advancing what is now and what we hope will be a deeper, stronger partnership and friendship going forward.
Well, it looks like India and US are in fact trying to deepen their, deepen their relationship. But it's also about the Prime Minister Modi's visit to the United States in a fortnight from now. He will be in fact addressing a joint house in the
Which
United
he said
States.
on Twitter he's very excited about.
Yes. Yeah, so he will be addressing the joint session of the US Congress, and that is why we have in fact seen the kind of statements that have been coming in. And also, as you rightly pointed out, there are several levels at which India is engaging with the United States when it comes to defense cooperation. And here in the Tribune, in fact, it mentions, asked about the levels of which India and the US partnered each other. He said Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and has announced some additional defense cooperation. There is awful lot of economic trade between our two nations. India is a member of the Pacific Quad and a key friend and partner in the Indo-Pacific security, he said. Kirby said that there are many innumerable reasons why India certainly matter, not only bilaterally but multilaterally as well. President Joe Biden is looking forward very much to having Prime Minister Modi in Washington to talk about all those issues and to deepen the partnership and a friendship is what is mentioned. So
Biden looking forward to Modi trip to deepen ties. This is another statement that has come out from the White House.
Well, there are a lot of things. India could emerge as the alternative for a point for global supply chain. We have been pitching ourselves as well on the issue about manufacturing of electronic chips. We have seen how COVID disrupted the global supply chain because China was in fact down. So clearly we are looking at an economic opportunity to allow those Western nations who had invested heavily in China to diversify to India, and not India alone, even to Southeast Asia, so that the global supply chain of essential goods that keep the economy going can be maintained, no matter whichever country could be hit by a pandemic or a war or any other exigencies. So it looks like we are trying to use that fear of a supply disruption to in fact go ahead and deepen our commitments with the West as well as our relationship with Western countries on our terms. It is before, you were dictated upon, but this time we are actually speaking from our terms. We are looking at more investments. We are looking at more possibilities of setting up factories and becoming one of the links in that global supply chain or alternative supply chain that we are looking at. So clearly all this goes a long, a long way into this. Now the Hindu has in fact also said that there are hectic preparations on for Prime Minister's US visit.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, Jake Sullivan arriving in New Delhi.
You know what? You go buy Guns N' Roses tickets. You used to go and buy, Led Zeppelin, Nirvana, rock concert tickets. Today you go out and you buy tickets to Prime Minister Modi's event. That's how big of a rock star this guy has become. That's our Prime Minister. He's out there in Australia. He's getting the highest civilian awards at Papua New Guinea, in Fiji. Then that huge Sydney event. And let's not forget, the last time Prime Minister had an event at the Times Square, we know what happened at the Madison Garden.
Yes, a lot of such events are also politically important for the Prime Minister when it comes to an election year campaigning as well, to showcase that the diaspora is with the person. But just before I would in fact wrap it up with this, let me tell you that the two sides are expected to finalize the agenda for Prime Minister's trip as well as strategic and defense agreements they hope to sign or announce. So clearly it looks like there is more on the table than we expected.
All right. So what is that trip going to look like? So it's not just diaspora outreach or diaspora optics or, a simple speech at the Congress. It's could be crucial stuff between these two nations, and what's going to happen next, we'll have to find out. Now, the month of May, ladies and gentlemen, it has been fluctuating. The month of May had the coldest day. The month of May had the hottest day. There was a lot of rain over there as well. And now we've entered June. Albeit on a tragic note, it seems like that cyclone in the Arabian Sea has put clouds over the monsoon's progress. What does that mean for crops? What does that mean for the vegetation market, for the economy? What does that mean for pure relief for people who are sweltering in the summer heat? How have El Nino and its delayed onset affected the monsoon in the past? We've got a Hindi newspaper that's saying that monsoon der mein aayega, but don't worry, it is going to rain a lot this monsoon. What is it that you're picking up, Varghese? And whilst we're talking about this, there's a small little blurb right in the bottom of the Hindustan Times that says Sarita Vihar flyover. This is for all the residents that commute on that road, and Kalandi is right here. It's a major connecting point between Noida and Delhi. So news for Delhi and national capital centric news. Sarita Vihar flyover is likely to be shut for repairs for 50 days. And we know 50 days essentially means 1 month minimum, it's completely gone. Traffic mess is going to be likely in South and Central Delhi. This because the Sarita Vihar flyover is going to be shut. On top of that, there's a delayed monsoon, and monsoon is going to be it's going to be delayed, but it is going to rain a lot, Varghese.
Well, they've named it also cyclone named Biparjoy, which is formed at the East Central and joining Southeast East Arabian Sea. On Tuesday, expected to intensify into a severe cyclonic storm by Thursday. It's not likely to have a majorly impact on India's west coast, but could further delay monsoon onset over Kerala by driving away the moisture, is what the climate experts are saying. So, Kerala is the
this cyclone is called Biparjoy.
Biparjoy is what they are saying.
Okay, so the cyclone Biparjoy, which formed in the Arabian Sea on Tuesday, is likely to stay too far away from the Indian west coast to cause major destruction while moving by and large northward towards the Pakistan coast. Weather officials and experts have said that. But if the Hindi newspaper is anything to go by, I've got the copy of the Dainik Bhaskar with me. And on the front page, it says, Ummeed rakhiye, monsoon beshak late aayega, par barish kam nahi hogi. And 10 saal mein 3 baar pehle pahuncha monsoon. In the last 10 years, we've got 3 early monsoon sessions. In 2022, it was the 29th of May. We're sitting at about 7th of June. It was 3rd June in 2021. It was the 8th of June in 2019. So still haven't crossed that particular barrier. It was the 8th of June in 2016 again. Is it going to be the 8th of June in 2023? Do you think it looks like it's going to rain tomorrow? Suddenly the monsoons are going to begin?
I never trust the weather, Kabir. It has its own mind.
Is there any weather checking website that you actually trust?
I don't trust any one of them because it's very simple. You don't, weather is, I mean, to sound kind of spiritual, is a phenomenon from God. So God is unpredictable and so is the weather. So just leave it at that. But we can just keep monitoring it, and and probably it might rain or it may not rain.
The IMD is going to come out with a report, ladies and gentlemen. You'll soon get those flashy notifications on your phones. It says, Tufan ka monsoon par kya asar, that we'll get to know today. How is this cyclone, Biparjoy, going to affect the delay in monsoon? How much is it going to rain? The IMD will soon be coming out with that particular data and statistics as well. Again, for people in Delhi, let's not forget that the Sarita Vihar flyover is going to be shut. These are visuals from Rajasthan, where there's a proper dust storm that has already begun. So the monsoon has been set in motion. Well, we'll have to find out what happens on the monsoon front. And you know, football complements the rainy season a lot. But today, ladies and gentlemen, there's a bigger match that is being played in England. Team India is getting ready for its final test. The final test is here. It's Team India's final test. India are taking on Australia. Several people have done, you know, proper expansive stories. Australia, that is ranked at number 2, Team India, that is ranked at number 1, Rohit Sharma, Pat Cummins. But the interesting news is that Rohit Sharma might have gotten himself a little injured. I think he's picked up a niggle. There were a couple of stories that were doing the rounds on the internet this very morning, and people are saying that the team is not the same without Rohit Sharma in the squad.
So, Kabir, how do you in fact see this match coming up between India and Australia?
Well, it certainly is one of the matches that everybody is going to be glued to their screens. Everybody is going to be talking about it. I kid you not, this is the match that people have been waiting for. They've changed the, the idea of playing test matches. It's not just test matches anymore. You're playing for a trophy. It's a World Test Championship. It's a league sort of a season. You keep playing throughout the year, and towards the end of the calendar season, which is right about now, you play the top 2 teams in the table play the final amongst themselves.
But don't you think like these test matches, as we in fact call them right now, don't you think it's kind of an outdated system when you have these 20-over matches?
Well, I for one, trust you me, I enjoy watching red ball cricket a lot. We've got a really nice picture over here. I'll just show it to the cameras. You've got the captains of both the teams standing with the trophy. It's called the Mace Chasers is the headline over here. It's on the sports page of the Indian Express. Just show it to the viewers. You've got Rohit Sharma standing with Pat Cummins, the Australian captain, and you've got a golden ball right over here, and there's a mace. So, and the headline says the Mace Chasers. Last time around, India reached the finals. They competed with New Zealand, and it was a complete washout. India couldn't really make the kind of inroads that it wanted to. But more importantly, Virat Kohli has come on record and he's saying that he's keen to see Shubman Gill, which many are saying is his direct competitor. He's going to replace Virat Kohli as that suave, charismatic, handsome-looking cricketer that is in the ads in Manyavar and is on the field scoring those centuries. Shubman Gill is also dating the right Bollywood women. He's going out doing those ads for the top brands. He's playing some phenomenal cricket. So he's right there. Championships are what you play for. Emphasizing that sport is all about winning championships. Indian skipper Rohit Sharma said during that press conference that he wants to win 1 or 2 major titles before he quits as the leader of the pack. So he's a captain and he's got a mission for himself set out. But it's important to see how Rohit Sharma fares. I'll just see what's happening on the internet when it comes. It says Z News is on record saying big news on Rohit Sharma injured before WTC final 2023. How serious is Rohit Sharma's injury as he walks out well, it's going to be difficult to see. Yesterday, we were seeing those visuals where the team was practicing, Varghese, and people were in the newsroom, talking, looking at the screens, at the agency feeds, saying that, Rohit Sharma, let's hope that he doesn't pick up a niggle. Let's hope this player doesn't pick up a niggle. Umesh Yadav was, doing his exercise with, real high vigor. And they said, just a day before the match, don't, end up pulling your hamstring. We really need you as part of our bowling battery, because let's not forget Jasprit Bumrah is still out. And the ODI, the 50-50 World Cup is also right around the corner. Boland, who's a real important member of the bowling battery when it comes to the Australian side, the Aussies. Pat Cummins, the captain, who again himself is a pacer, has said that Boland can be a real difference maker, and we've seen that because when Australia came to India for their series, Boland did make a huge impact, and he's a youngster. He's got that Brett Lee vibe to him. He can be making that change. So 3:30 p.m. today is when India will finally take on Australia. It's the 7th today. The 5th day culminates on Sunday. Really strategically planned so that people can, really kick their feet up and enjoy this particular match, Varghese. I know you're not much to say about cricket, but trust you me, if this match does linger on to the 4th or the 5th day, I'm telling you, a non-cricket watcher like Varghese is also going to be watching this particular match. Seems like that's all the time we have for you this time around. Many thanks for joining with us in the comment section below. We really appreciate you getting down in the comment section and letting us know what is it that you would like for us to talk about, us to do our shows, and really get down in the editorial section. It seems like these are the stories that we're going to be doing today.
Mostly it looks like these are the stories that we'll be focusing on today.
We've got the Manipur violence, we've got the CBI's train tragedy probe, some rumblings down south as well when it comes to political expansions. Of course, K. Chandrasekhar Rao and the BRS's party over there as well. What are the monsoons going to lead to? Our environmental segment on that. Of course, we're going to be covering the India versus Australia match in our sports segment today at 2 p.m. and then later on in the evening as well. Continue to be with us throughout the day. We're bringing you the news that you want, that is by you and for you. We're just here delivering it to you. Thank you very much. This is Kabir Naqvi signing off. Varghese Abraham here in the studio with me. Keep watching News9 Live.